Big changes are going to happen next week, and new players may be under evaluation right now. The accumulation of physical problems in the final stretch of preparation for the Commanders has revealed a concerning scenario that may be much bigger than everyone is admitting behind the scenes. The coaching staff is trying to keep control of the situation, but recent losses on defense are forcing the coordinator to test a depth chart that is still an unknown for this season. This delicate moment directly affects the planning of the offense, where the coaching staff is intensely debating whether our main quarterback should take the field in the next preseason challenge or remain fully protected. At the same time, the offensive line's interior is experiencing a competition full of uncertainties, with an experienced player trying to prove he truly has the ability to lead the blocks, while a versatile and highly respected athlete from the offense reemerges healthy to compete for a new opportunity. I will tell you everything about the team's medical decisions, the debate about our quarterback, and the details of the new formation on the protection line. Leave your like on the video. It's just one click, and it helps me a lot. Thursday was a lighter day in Ashburn, with a greater focus on the physical condition of the roster than on major on-field competitions. The game against Detroit is approaching, and the coaching staff needs to decide which starters will be available. The practice did not bring an avalanche of competitive plays, but it helped differentiate real concern from overreacting. For the fan, this difference is important before drawing definitive conclusions. Now, the first reaction is to say that injuries have reached a critical level. It's easy to understand this feeling. Laramie Tunsil, regarded as the heaviest loss of the season, continues to be a huge absence. Nick Allegretti had issues right at the beginning of training camp, and now Johnny Newton may be out for quite some time. When important names fall in succession, the feeling is that everything is spiraling out of control. But the facts still call for caution. Rashad White's thigh injury should not last long. Trey Amos is recovering well, and the tests on Allegretti's calf showed no complications. This does not mean that Washington is calm. It simply means that an injury in August only turns into a crisis when it prevents several starters from playing or drastically reduces the time for cohesion before the debut. Availability will be the central point. Players may be physically cleared but lack enough rhythm to perform safely. Others may train in a limited capacity, yet still contribute in week 1. Therefore, the staff needs to observe progress, not just the name of the injury. Today, the situation is uncomfortable and deserves attention, but it still does not justify claiming that the season is at risk. The second exaggerated reaction says that Washington is back to square one at center. This conclusion has some basis, because Julian Good-Jones has returned to participate in most practices. Allegretti had returned this week, felt discomfort in his calf, and ended up being replaced. For those expecting a solution, the scene seemed frustrating. The position continues to lack the desired stability. Good-Jones didn't instill confidence against the Miami Dolphins' defensive line. Placing him against Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis of the Philadelphia Eagles would be a very risky decision. These players can win interior blocks and quickly pressure the quarterback. The doubt is not just whether Allegretti can play at center. The more important question is whether the veteran has accumulated enough repetitions to understand the calls. The current situation, however, is not identical to that at the beginning of training camp. The imaging tests of the calf did not indicate a complication, and Quinn hopes to reevaluate Allegretti on Sunday. There's a path for a return. The problem is the lack of continuity. A center needs to practice several consecutive days alongside the same teammates to coordinate protection, counts, and defensive adjustments. Matt Golban remains an alternative that deserves attention. The rookie has shown capability and maybe a more reliable plan B than he appeared at first. Even so, it would not be wise to rely solely on a young player without professional experience. Washington has not yet returned to the starting point, but has also not found a definitive answer. The position will remain open until Allegretti can maintain a sequence of practices. The third overreaction involves Jaden Daniels. Some fans advocate for his participation against Detroit to gain rhythm in David Blau's new system. Others understand that it makes no sense to expose the starting quarterback without Tunsil and with the center situation undefined. Both positions are legitimate. A quarterback needs real repetitions, but also needs reliable protection around. Quinn has not confirmed whether Daniels will play. The coaching staff has indicated only that several starters should participate. This decision will directly depend on the condition of the offensive line. If Allegretti is available and the protection seems secure, a few snaps could help Daniels better understand the new scheme. If there are doubts, preserving the starter could be the more responsible option. Practices allow the quarterback to master concepts, but games reveal different details. Daniels needs to feel the pressure speed, adjust calls, and work with the receivers in a situation closer to the regular season. Even so, there is no benefit in taking an unnecessary risk. Washington should put him on the field only if Quinn is convinced that the environment around provides security. Day 14 was not filled with spectacular plays, but it brought important information. Injuries cannot be ignored, the center still requires monitoring, and Daniels' workload needs to be planned wisely. None of these issues call for an extreme conclusion at this moment. The same prudence applies to Austin Eckler, whose future remains open after a difficult recovery. Austin Eckler is healthy, without a contract, and willing to continue his career. The running back suffered a rupture in the Achilles tendon in the loss against Green Bay in Week 2 last September. The injury ended his season and left the veteran off the market since March. At 31 years old, Eckler knows that the next opportunity may be different from the previous ones, but still believes he can contribute. In an appearance on the Fantasy Football Happy Hour podcast, the player stated that he needs to find the right situation. Eckler has returned to the weight room, is lifting heavy weights, and declared himself fully recovered. The statement conveys confidence, but organizations will also analyze his recent history. Being healthy now is crucial. Proving he can remain available will be the next challenge. The veteran acknowledges that his role may be more limited at this stage. A supporting role may involve third downs, protection, receptions, and specific situations in the backfield. This adaptation could increase his chances of being signed. Eckler does not necessarily need to return to being the primary runner of a franchise. He needs to show that he still possesses skills capable of helping a team in important moments. His time with the Chargers remains the main reference. Between 2017 and 2023, the athlete from Western Colorado went from an undrafted free agent to becoming a complete offensive weapon. Eckler contributed as both a runner and receiver, first playing alongside Phillip Rivers and then Justin Herbert. Few players built such a productive career after not being selected in the draft. In 3 seasons, Eckler surpassed 1,400 total yards. He also received more than 70 passes on 3 occasions and scored over 15 touchdowns in 2 campaigns. The 2022 season was the most impressive, with 1,637 total yards, including 915 rushing and 722 receiving. He had 107 receptions and 18 touchdowns, numbers that showcase his ability to contribute in multiple areas. In the history of the Chargers, Eckler ranks among the franchise's top names. He has 4,155 rushing yards, 69 touchdowns, and 440 receptions. Interestingly, the recognition as an All-Pro only came after the move to Washington in 2024 when he was selected to the second team as a kick returner. Before that, injuries and competition prevented his production from receiving the expected recognition. The problem is that the last 2 years have been marked by absence. Eckler missed 5 games due to a concussion in 2024 and another 15 because of a ruptured Achilles tendon. During his 2-year, $8.43 million contract with Washington, he participated in only 14 of the 32 games. A new signing would cost much less, but the physical risk will continue to influence the decision. Perhaps Eckler will still find a franchise that needs experience and versatility. Washington knows his behavior, preparation, and ability to help in specific situations. As a fan, it would be interesting to see him healthy again, but the organization needs to think about the future. The market will decide if there is room for one more season, or if the best period of his career is already behind him. This doubt about availability also appears on defense. Durante Jones began the task with an ambitious vision to transform the unit, but injuries are taking players out before the debut. The defensive coordinator wanted to develop pressure, speed, and flexibility in alignments. Now, he needs to find out if the roster has enough alternatives to keep the plan functioning without its main names. Odafe Oweh and Killevon Chaisson did not participate in one of the recent practices. Quinn doesn't believe the issues are serious, and preserving the duo is the right decision. The preseason isn't worth the risk of turning a minor injury into a long absence. Even so, each absence reduces the chemistry among the pass rushers and delays the development of the rotation. Johnny Newton's situation is more concerning. The defensive tackle is consulting a specialist due to a pectoral injury, and Quinn acknowledged that the absence may be prolonged. Newton is important because he can impact both the run and pass games. He doesn't just occupy blockers, he also provides interior pressure, something difficult to find in many rosters. Tim Settle Jr. is facing a calf issue and hasn't been able to participate fully yet. Trey Amos continues with an ankle injury and may not be ready for Week 1 against Philadelphia. Jordan Magee is trying to recover from a shoulder problem while competing for a spot behind Frankie Louvu, Sonny Styles, and Leo Chenal. Dietrich Wise Jr. also remains out during the preseason. To top it off, Dorrance Armstrong Jr. is suspended for the first game. Jones won't have all the pieces available and will need to build a functional defense with different combinations. The absence of known names creates opportunities for backups, but also requires these players to be ready for greater responsibilities. The staff can't expect everyone to produce exactly like the starters. The coordinator, however, is not looking for excuses. Jones needs to observe who steps up, who maintains discipline, and who can execute without relying on a star next to them. Video analysis will be essential. Each snap can show if a player understands the alignment, occupies the correct space, and reacts quickly. The depth will be measured far beyond a pretty play. Caution continues to be the safest path. Forcing returns now could jeopardize the entire season. Jones will work with the available athletes and await good news from the injured. This process also allows for better evaluation of positions that seemed resolved. Sometimes, an absence reveals an option that was hidden. Other times, it shows that the roster still needs reinforcements. Newton's injury summarizes this challenge. Washington has enough players to fill his snaps, but the question is whether they can replace his production as a pass rusher. Darren Payne and Javon Kinlaw will be the first names called. Both would have had plenty of participation even with Newton healthy, and now they will need to take on a bigger load inside the line. Charles Omenihu can help with his versatility. The defensive lineman can play at different points in the formation and allows Jones to vary alignments. Shai Tuttle and Ricky Barber can also enter the rotation. Byron Cowart and Maurice Hurst II were recently added and can now receive an opportunity that seemed limited to the fight for the final spots. Tim Settle would be an important presence if he can return. Cowart has already played against Miami, while Hurst is still trying to prove his worth. The competition has shifted from just a fight for survival to involving relevant snaps. Those who produce against runs, occupy blocks, and pressure the quarterback could earn a real role on defense. Washington reinforced the defensive line during the offseason precisely to avoid being without options. Now, the organization will find out if this investment created true depth or merely increased the number of available names. The difference will show when Payne, Kinlaw, and Omenihu face bigger loads, and the reserves need to maintain intensity throughout the game. In the end, the issues connect. Day 14 showed that not every injury means a crisis, but it also confirmed that the roster needs quick answers. Akler is healthy and hopes for another chance, although the market views his history cautiously. Jones needs to build a defense without guarantees, and Newton could be the absence that defines the real level of the unit. As a fan, hope remains, because there is talent in various areas. Daniels can grow in the new scheme, Allegretti can still reclaim his position, and the defensive line has alternatives. But every decision must be made carefully, without ignoring the signs. If Johnny Newton is out for an extended period, will Payne and Kinlaw be able to maintain the necessary interior pressure, or will the injury show that Durante Jones's defense depended more on the young defensive tackle than anyone imagined?